Welcome back to the newspaper review segment. Let's quickly check what's on the front pages of some of the newspapers. The daily graphic start this morning with Afoko thrown out, and the story suggests that legal action by the suspended national chairman of the NPP, Paul Afoko, challenging his suspension was yesterday dismissed by the Human Rights Division of the Accra High Court. Also on the daily graphic, President challenged over Muntie 3, were told that illegal practitioner Elik Blim Agbamava wants the court to stop or restrain the president from pardoning the Muntie 3 until a suit challenging the president's authority on that is determined. And also, Daily Graphic says reintroduce taboo days to preserve environment. That's what we spoke about on Daily Run. The BNFT says a Ghanaian-owned economy running GF theme enters second year. BNFT and story wobbly times ahead for agriculture as schools abandon its study. I think we'll take a look at that. The Daily Guide says NPP floors Afoko and foreign voters missing in court. The finder has only 6.6 million voters verified out of 15.7 million. We're also told by the finder that 29,000 plus people with NHIS card were re-registered onto the voter roll. And TOR, Thermal Oil Refinery, to convert 950 million cedi debt or bank debt to 10-year bond in 3 weeks. Those are some stories on the pages of some of the newspapers I have with me here. Let me tell you who my guests are this morning. Begin with my left. Is a member of parliament for the Ekuapem South constituency, Honorable Obi Amwa. Good morning.
Good morning.
And I hope you're doing good.
Very well.
It's been some time now.
Yes.
I'm sure the campaign has taken a lot of your time.
It's going very well. And to be a bit mischievous, I like your tie.
Oh, okay. Okay. I haven't actually taken notice of it. Oh, the colors. Okay.
Like the colours.
All right. Okay. I'm sure it's a question, but you like my tie too.
Well, for as long as there is red and white there, I think I should like it as well.
All right, so I'm in the middle. Obi, welcome once again.
Thank you.
Great. And Dr. Michael Pesa-White is the acting director of the National Service Scheme, also a prestigious staffer. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And thanks so much for your time here.
Thank you.
Great. Let's start with this one. Some information coming in is indicating that only 6.6 million voters managed to go and check and verify if indeed their names were there on the list, according to figures that have come in. Is that something that we should be enthused about? Obi, let me start with you, particularly when really we don't want anybody to get disenfranchised on voting day. We're told only 6 million plus people verified.
Well, thank you and good morning again. And good morning to the very special people of Ekuapem South who have taken me this far. I also want to commend doctors from Konfanosia especially.
Oh, those who came to the health screening that you organized over the weekend.
They started eye screening.
Great.
And they will do it for the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
And indeed, come next week, a team will also come to start eye surgery. So it's a major thing in the constituency. I want to commend them and those at Home Clinic who are hosting them and those who are helping from Kofodia. Well, the exhibition exercise took an unusually long time. That's 21 days instead of the normal 14 days. And the idea behind it, as given by the EC, was that it will allow more people to go and check their names, raise objections, ask for inclusions as required under the CI 91. That's the regulations on election registration. And that they were hoping that they will display the biometric device kit for members to also verify whether they could have their fingerprints on the device. And as you have rightly said, it means that in spite of the efforts, a lot of people didn't even go to verify.
Well, 9 million.
9 million. And it also means that we've been checking going to check their names. Some did online and felt that they were okay online, and they don't go to verify. Now, I believe that one major problem which has led to this, of course, is the little time for education, lack of information from the AC, the closeness of the announcement and the beginning of the process. But given that it was 21 whole days, we were expecting that the electorate, those who will be voting, will go and check their names. Unfortunately, it appears that people are more occupied with other things than just spending time to go and verify. It is important because on the election day, it becomes easier for those who are verified to indeed know that even before I go to vote, I know that when all things being equal, my name is on the register and my fingerprints have also been captured. Now, the challenge that we're likely to face is, of course, getting there on the election day and you not being in a position to be verified biometrically, even though the AC now is now saying that if you go through all the process, your name on the register, the barcode picks your details, and then you still cannot be verified on the device. That means you have to fill a form. The presiding officer would have to confirm that your details and everything are on the register, but you cannot be verified biometrically. So you should be allowed to go and vote, which they have termed manual verification. Yes, it's yet to become law. It has one more day for the CI to become law. But I remember very well, for most parties, including the major ones, were not too comfortable with the decision of the EC.
With the manual verification.
But they are saying that they don't want to be in a position to say that anybody has been prevented from voting simply because their device did not work. We have also said that in 2012, they said everybody who voted was verified. And subsequent to that, all the by-elections, just a small percentage could not be verified. So if they are bringing this, we are only hoping that their machines will work so that as few or very few people will have to go through the manual verification. If it doesn't happen that way, that means the whole process has failed. In the sense that you have invested so much in equipment, hoping that everybody would be verified electronically or be verified by the biometric device. And now, come election day, if more people would have to go through manual verification, that means the whole thing, that what the innovation...
It will slow down the process?
Not even only slowing down. It means the whole idea and vision behind us going biometric would then have not succeeded. So we are praying that their machines will work, that almost everybody will be verified, and a few cannot be verified, and whose names will be on the register and whose details will be picked by the barcode will then go through what they are proposing.
I'm grateful, Honorable Obiama, for your submission there. Dr. Pesa White, so only 6 million managed to do it. Honorable Obiama is suggesting that perhaps the poor education or the late education might have contributed to that. He's also raising some concerns about the idea of the whole thing being electronically done, and then people who can be verified will have to do the manual verification. Are these concerns, are they troubling you too?
Well, first of all, good morning to our cherished viewers. I think that there may be some claim or some facts in what Honorable Obiama is saying, but it may also well be that 6.6 million verifying is not necessarily that bad. I think our problem perhaps in this country is that we always expect people to do things face to face. It's possible that some people have tested to the provided short code and were sure that their names were in the register. Others may have been confident coming out of the district assembly elections that, look, my name is already in the
There's
register.
nothing wrong with it.
So there is nothing wrong with it. So I wouldn't bother to go. And let's not forget that quite a substantial number of people in this country travel from one place to the other to cast their votes. So if somebody votes in, let's say, Ho, and he currently is in Kumasi. And for the purposes of verification, he has to travel down. It's a cost to his family budget, and he has to weigh the options. And so I think innovations like short codes for texting, and if it's possible online, or if it's possible, you also call maybe a toll-free number and get these things done, which I don't think we have done yet. A toll-free number, I don't think we have done yet. Are the ways to go. On the issue of whether the decision by the EC to bring a certain element of manual verification if the need arises is right or wrong, my sense is that the EC is treading cautiously between outsourcing our trust to verify to a machine and verifying by individual human beings who actually know the person standing before them and looking at the picture in the register. I believe that the EC is probably doing the right thing, and rightly so, because those machines are manufactured by human beings. They can break down, just like in a human institution or human work. There could be problems, and when there are problems, that should not become the end of the road. There must be an immediate remedy, and I think that there may be genuine cases where, in one way or the other, a person's name may be in the register, his face is there, his details are there, he goes to the polls on election day, he puts his hands on the verification machine, and the fingerprints are not being picked by the machine. In such an instance, both the agents for all the political parties present, NPP, NDC, and all the smaller parties, if they could see the picture and see the individual standing, I believe that common sense will prevail, and they will agree that, you know what, I think this person is who he is, and so let's allow him to vote. And that is a kind of mechanism. I don't think that this is being introduced with an expectation that machines will break down across the country. And let's not forget that we are coming from a particular background. We are coming from a background where this has been the norm. We have moved out of that somewhere last year, and we have seen that machines, especially with verification, has the potential to also disenfranchise people. And so what I believe the EC is doing is that between your right to vote and the machine denying you that right, they want to make sure your right to vote is not denied.
So you think that in any way it shouldn't impact on our desire to ensure a total machine operation during elections?
Definitely, we should work towards making sure that we have 100% functionality of all the verification machines. But we also know that as human beings, the election being a human practice, there may be challenges here and there. A machine could develop a fault. Even your own phone sometimes freezes sometimes. Your own phone, sometimes you are on the call with somebody, and then for some reason you can't hear the person, maybe network problems. And so we need to make room for the possibility of a challenge. If it so happens that on election day, no machine broke down, really, we are happy, we are excited, and then everybody would have been properly verified. But if it so happened that there are challenges, I believe that there must be a fallback position. And I believe the fallback position is precisely what the Electoral Commission is introducing. And I think that given that practice itself had been the system used before, it is not entirely wrong. And it has produced, parliamentarians and presidents in the past. I don't think it's entirely wrong, especially when it's being used as a fallback position.
Before I go to Obiamwa, now we're told by the EC, based on figures it took to court, that 56,000 plus people used NHIS card to register. Today, the information is that just over 29,000 were re-registered onto the roll. For you, do you see this as perhaps a lot more people disenfranchised, or perhaps people, due to certain reasons beyond their control, were unable to re-register?
Well, I believe that the full facts of this will come out when as we proceed to interrogate the numbers more closely. But we must also learn not to make our democracy unnecessarily inconveniencing for people. This claim about people registering with NHIS cards being deleted and now being given the opportunity to register, it's all much ado about nothing. And I don't know why we have invested so much time, energy in this particular thing. Look, if somebody registered in 2012 with an NHIS card, and he had used that NHIS card to acquire a passport or a driver's license or any other valid card like the national identification card, can that person now use that NHIS card to go back and register? Can that person use the passport now to go and register? So in a sense, you look at you interrogate the whole thing and say, you know what, who are we trying to appease, or who are we trying to satisfy, or who are we trying to make happy? We must be very serious as a country. The Electoral Commission is a state institution, impartial, has delivered results that favored two major parties in this country, and it's well respected not only in Africa but across the globe. So why do we, as a society, when it's getting close to elections, begin to demonize a very institution in whom we trust that it will be the arbiter or the referee in a contest? And so I think that the numbers are not surprising, because I think that some of these people clearly either probably were not even aware, or some of them just do not find the need to. And others probably might have traveled somewhere else and were not in a position to travel back and had themselves registered. Whatever the case may be, it looks like we have managed to cross this particular challenge as well. But it is a lesson we must learn and move forward with it.
What about the concerns that even whilst the exercise was going on, the EC was still publishing these names in some of the dailies, and so perhaps these persons might not have seen that their names were part of those deleted?
Well, it is possible that if the only means through which people could know whether they were deleted or not is by publication in the dailies, then it stands to reason that individuals in the rural areas who may not have access to the dailies, or individuals who probably do not even know how to spell their own names and may not necessarily have the opportunity to check from the dailies. But that is also not entirely the case. I think that the EC made sure that polling stations across the country where people were deleted, the deleted registers or the deleted lists were made available for people to check whether their names were actually deleted or not, then subsequently gave them the opportunity to register. The question is whether people actually went to check and whether they registered. The second question is whether this whole exercise is of priority to the people affected at all. Because there is a certain sense in this country that, after all, we vote to reward the politicians, even though I don't believe that is what it is. Politicians stand because they want to really serve. So there is a certain sense that we vote to reward the politicians. So if they themselves are arguing that we should be taken out of the register, then what's the point? And I think that this is why political parties needs to be more moderated in their views on matters relating to election. There must be space for public education, and there must be space for policy debates. In our case, it appears that policy debate is very weak, and political debate seems to have taken petty squabbles and needless arguments. I'm grateful, Dr. White. Obi.
Well, thank you. We have to be cautious. We don't turn this whole debate upside down. Article 42 of the Constitution is very clear as to who can register and vote. As far back as 2014, individuals went to the Supreme Court and said that when you look at the ID that we have to use, either national identification, where we have 5.5 million of these cars still lying around and we cannot even distribute them, or driver's licenses, or health insurance, or your voter ID card. When you look at all this, when it comes to health insurance, it doesn't indicate whether you are a citizen or not. The Supreme Court agreed with such persons as far back as 2014. So what was the EC doing about it? I mean, it's self-inflicted. We've waited all this time. It has to go to court 3 times just for the EC to be clear as to what they were required to do. And then what they did was to publish the names. And then where you had a constituency with 5,000 of such persons, you took only one machine there, and we were hoping that within 10 days, such 5,000 persons would be registered. And indeed, we were not even registering them at the polling stations or electoral areas. They were supposed to go to their district office. And looking at the distances, etc., some couldn't be bothered. At the end of the day, if you don't think that when the Supreme Court gives a ruling it's that important, then nobody should even go to court. But if the Supreme Court has given a decision as far back as 2014, July, 2 whole years after, and you still wonder how you could implement it, and then you put us in this mess, you don't just say that because it's politics or it's politicians who want to disfranchise people, or you should be cautious about policy and debate. Then you're turning the whole thing upside down. The reality is that what does the Constitution say? That's a fundamental law of the land ruling us. So if anybody is not happy with it, what else can you do than to go for the Constitution to be explained? And if the Constitution is explained and the Supreme Court says this is the way we should go, not once, not twice, 3 times, before you, a state institution, using all our resources to run the institution, before you come to grips with what you're supposed to do, and you put us in this tight corner, who do you blame? Do you blame politicians?
What about the scenario that Dr. Michael Pesawai is raising, that the person might have registered with any Chinese card. Today, he owns a passport. Okay, one has been outlawed, but the one that he gained...
It shows a flaw in our system.
All right.
It shows how flawed and fraudulent our system is. It's flawed and fraudulent. That somebody can just walk into this country, probably a ECOWAS citizen, comes here, we know that within 3 months, after 3 months, you may have to go back. He just walks in, he stays, acquires all the cars that he wants to acquire, does every business, probably will never pay any tax. And you employed here, we paying tax, but you have to use your tax to take care of him. And we still think that this is the best system. That's what I'm saying, that if you invest so much even in national identification cards, and you're able to print 1.5 million of such cards, and you're telling the whole world, Auditor General's report, recent one, that we have found 1.5 million of such cards which have been produced in that institution, but they say they don't have any money to be distributing them. Then how can you run your system? That is why you come back to square one, and you always be complaining that everything has broken down.
So for you, the system is flawed from the basis,
and we don't seem to be making any attempt to correct it.
Can I just make?
We don't seem to make any attempt.
I'll get you.
You understand? So that if you say that, oh, he used health insurance card, he has gone on to use it for other things, so it's not legitimate, then the Supreme Court didn't have any business even telling us which one should be used for registration and which one shouldn't be used for registration. People should just walk in and say that I'm here, look at my face, look at how I talk. Nowadays, even the vogue is that look how short I am. So I'm a Ghanaian. Register me and let's move on. We cannot run a system this way. And if you want to run a system this way, these are the kind of problems that you face. So rather than blaming people who have gone to court or blaming the Supreme Court which did the right thing, we should look at the system. How do we make it better than the way it is? And then if you are a state institution at the Electoral Commission, they told the whole world that, the court said that, okay, you've brought 56,000 to us. Go and delete these names and make sure you re-register them. Apart from that, we expect you to have more. So when you have more, go ahead. Have they found even a single one? There are all districts and constituencies where they tell the whole world that not a single person uses health insurance, which is ridiculous.
But I don't think any other person too has a list of those.
Oh, people call me and tell me that, oh, I use health insurance, but I found my name on the register.
How do you believe
what should I do?
What should I do? I said, if your name is on the believe such a
but sometimes you have to be realistic. Because the EC, when the EC came to Parliament, when the EC went to court, when they were backed by the Attorney General, their major reason why they felt that health insurance should be accepted, health insurance card should be accepted, was that it was the most common identity that Ghanaians could procure. Even the latest stakeholders debate, the EC chair told the whole world that the health insurance card is very accessible and easy to use, even at our banks and all the places that you have to show your ID. So it's not strange that people will use that if the EC allows it. EC allowed it in 2012. People felt it was the most convenient. They used it until the court said, no, that cannot be used because it doesn't show our citizenship. So take it off. They took it off their CI, and then they were supposed to identify. But if the system is not flawed, how come you go back to all your forms and you tell me that we went through all the forms, the whole district, when we were registering them, we didn't indicate those who use national ID and those who use health insurance, so we couldn't identify it. Is this a system that you can operate? That is the issue.
But I don't think the system you're talking about has been so flawed that you think it has lost its credibility. I don't think what you're suggesting.
No, I've told you the circumstances and what we are going through.
All right. Okay, I'm grateful.
I can challenge you any day. I can bring two persons who may not be Ghanaians. They may secure passport earlier than you secure a passport.
Right.
That's the system that we are talking about.
Okay.
Right. I think that we need to be very serious as a country. Sometimes the opportunity to sit here is also the opportunity to discuss.
I'm waiting for him to
laugh. I hope you're not blind. I'm not serious. Otherwise, I'll be very offended.
Oh, how can I say that? I don't have to be offended at all. I think we need to be very serious. And the reason I say so is simply because when you are going into a major political elections, what you need to do is not to antagonize unnecessarily the state institutions that the Constitution entrusts with, or to be the referees of that particular contest. Secondly, the one most single important factor that determines elections anywhere in the world is ability to innovate and come up with the most creative and the most reasonable and workable policies and programs that will endure and endure to the benefits of the people. And so one would have thought that just like the NDC is doing, the MPP will also engage in additional debates and provide constructive criticism to the EC, the Supreme Court, and other institutions who in many ways we feel that could do things maybe slightly different or in a manner that is more consistent with our democratic values and our democratic principles. And the reason I say this is because I think that this thing about the EC, the EC has been significantly responsive to a lot of the questions and claims and antagonisms and criticisms. We must move on. This idea of only 29,000, yeah. So be it. Let's move on. Let's just commend the EC for providing the opportunity. We couldn't have forced everybody who was deleted to go there. It is their democratic choice. The information was made available. Has anybody prevented them from going?
Very belated?
Well, belated because everything seems to have been crunched within a short period of time. The most important thing is that this became a major public conversation and people became aware of it. I traveled all the way to my village to go and verify. And so, because I think that
But the EC had all the time way back 2014 to deal with this. You know that?
Well, the EC has all the time, but the EC is equally probably busy with other things as well. Don't forget that we came out of district assembly elections not too long ago. You know, if you want to stretch the margins of this whole conversation, what happened to people who registered with NHIS cards and had actually used their place in the voters register to elect MPs, to elect members of assembly members and so on and so forth? Were they people who were not supposed to have voted in the first place but had voted for the people who occupy those positions now? That's what I'm saying that, look, it appears to me that the EC has done the most reasonable thing. Let's move forward and make sure that we have an incident-free election.
You're not worried about a voters register that doesn't have the agreement of all parties involved, a credible register?
I think that we have a credible register. Nowhere in the world do you have an electoral system that is 100% problem-free. Nowhere in the world. I am waiting for anybody to come and show any country in front of me that says that as for this country, they have 100%, system. We should be working towards 100%, and perhaps we can. But our minor disagreements should not be transformed into monsters that threaten the very foundation of the democratic stability and peace that we enjoy in this country. Secondly, we must not create the impression as though we are starting to attack the referee so that when the game does not go our way, the public will say, well, the referee actually was bad. Let us all agree that we have the best referee. And then when we go into the game and the outcome is shown to us, we will give the public and everybody a better sense or a better measure of judgment.
Well, I'm grateful. Doctor, a quick reaction, then we'll move on.
Well, I want to put on record that when it comes to assisting the EC to do its work, MPP has been very diligent, faithful. As I sit here, you can call any top official at AC. They will tell you that when it comes to their regulations, some of us go every mile, the extra mile, to be able to assist EC to bring out these regulations. And I not for a city or a person. And I don't think that when we make such inputs, and we can sit back and say that as for MPP, they're only interested in criticizing EC or attacking a state institution. That should not be our attitude. The most important thing is that it's a state institution. It is accountable. Even though it is independent, it is accountable. And it's for us to make sure that it does the right thing. Take the recent electronic transmission situation, where we all think that we can improve on the system. You had a situation where the chair of the EC, who is a returning officer, has to wait for fast messages to come as to results from polling stations. And we all thought that we could improve on such a situation if we could get all the statement of pool to the collation center, and then when they are collated, you scan them and send them to the center. We all agreed on that. There was no fuss. We debated, agreed during Dr. Afrejan's time. The president chair came, we continued the whole thing. Then you go and advertise that instead of the 275 that we all agreed, you're not going to send them from 29,000 polling stations. We asked you at IPAC, how are you going to do it? Since March, you don't give us any answer. And you think we will keep quiet just because we think you are a state institution or you are independent? No way. So if anybody would think that because it's the referee, you're attacking the referee, it's their own strategy and their own plan. As far as we are concerned, once the Constitution governs every state institution, once we have PNDC Law 284 on representation of the people, once we have regulations on registration and elections, we will look at those things and then point them out to the EC. That this is how we think things should be run. And nobody, if you people then think that they can use that as an advantage to say that we are always attacking the EC, so they too will always be defending EC. It's their own cup of tea and their own strategy. As far as we are concerned, we will go by the rules. That is the only way that we can all survive. You don't need to take stones or cutlasses or sticks to the EC when we disagree with them. We point that out to them at IPAC, at open discussions. If they still think that we are not satisfied, we go to court for court to interpret the law and the Constitution for us. And that is the role that we are supposed to play.
How do you respond in the context of what you yourself have just said? How do you respond to some of the most disparaging and unprintable comments made by members of your party who are in parliament about the person of the EC?
I'm not here to defend anybody. You heard the person himself. When this thing came out, the first thing I said was that if
I have heard you spoke about it, right?
If the chair has been defamed, she should go to court to clear her name. And I'm not here to speak for people.
The party.
I never go out of my way to take on persons when I'm more interested in the issue.
I'm not so wanted to cancel, but the party says it has asked the honourable member to do the right thing. Let's see what happens after that. Okay, now let's move on and stay with the NPP, because the court yesterday affirmed the indefinite suspension of Mr. Paul Afoko as the national chairman of the NPP. That's what happened yesterday. Obiama, let me stay with you. So perhaps this has put to an end all these running debate about his suspension.
Well, for some of us, it gives us opportunity to learn more about how parties should be run and the rules and regulations for parties. I have been very much involved in MPP constitutional matters. At one point, I was a secretary to the legal committee. At one point, I even acted as chairman of the legal committee. And we thought we could operate with our constitution until we had this crisis where national officers were subjected to the constitution, and then the majority of members at the highest level, or the second highest, because highest is Congress, but national council level, felt that national officers should be suspended because they felt they had infringed on the constitution. Everybody had his own interpretation, including those who were asked to appear before the disciplinary committee. At the end of the day, the court has ruled that we've looked at your constitution. This is how your constitution operates. In one breath, it says that when you want to deal with a national officer, you should go through a sentencing process. In another breath, it says that any member could be suspended on various grounds. We think that even though you're a national officer, you're also a member. So if you don't fall under this category, you fall under this category. So we don't think that anything untoward was done in this process. That is what the court has said. I'm here to read a full thing about the court, but I think that it should inform us as to how we run our political parties and how we even tighten our constitutions so that such things will not even occur for this whole legal dispute to go on. It's a lesson for all of us. We should move on. That is what democracy is all about. You don't have your way always, and if you don't agree with situations, you go to a court of law where we all agree that that should be the place for us to decide on such disputes. The party's position is that let's move on. This thing probably should not have dragged to this extent, except that people also have rights and they want to ensure that their rights are not infringed upon. The court has ruled if any party is still not happy about the ruling, you still have the opportunity to move upstairs. But if I were to advise, right from the beginning, I thought that this didn't need to have reached this point, except that maybe we couldn't solve our internal problems this way. Some will tell you, even brothers go to court, even family members go to court. So if people have agreed to come together to form a party and they don't agree on all the issues and they want to go to court, it's their right. But at the end of the day, this is what the court has said. I'm not interested in saying that we won, they lost. We are the victors, these are the vanquished. It doesn't help anybody. The most important thing is that people wanted to know whether their rights have been secured or their rights were infringed upon. At this stage, the court is saying that as far as they are concerned, things were done in the right way. So we should move on. The most important thing now is still to get very respectable elders in the party to see how we will put this behind us.
Right.
Because if initially people were so agitated and they felt this was the only way out, at this stage, after all these months, cool heads should still prevail, and then we move forward. That is the only way.
Is the party in a position to handle this the way you're saying it? Get everyone to come together and say, look, let's bury this and move on.
Well, I'm aware that every day people try to address this. You take 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards. And then maybe some may put in conditions which you may think that it will maybe compromise the whole situation. So you want the outcome first to know the way forward. But the most important thing is that if you decide to join a political party, if you decide to even lead a political party, the impression you give to the whole world is that you want the interests of the nation at heart, or you want the nation to move forward. So you want to join a political party as a constitution and Article 55 provides. You bring ideas together, you see how you can govern the country and move the country forward. That should be your main goal of trying to even lead a political party.
I am staying on this because you had earlier said that you think that within the party it should be seen as not they have won or we have won.
Yes.
But when particularly a newspaper, the Daily Guide, that is seen as a pro-NPP paper, puts it on the front page that NPP floors Afoko, it suggests a division, NPP, Afoko.
Well, in the first place, NPP didn't take Afoko to court. It's Afoko who took NPP to court. And obviously, if Afoko had his way in court, probably Afoko and his followers too would have been jubilant, even though that is not my vision or my position on such things.
It doesn't show a sign of disunity in the party?
In the same way, because the MPP was able to defend itself in court, and the court has come out to say that MPP, you are rather right in this matter. You may find papers like this coming out, but we need to even discourage some of these things. We need to discourage. It doesn't have to be coming from maybe Daily Guide, even though Daily Guide is separate from the acting chairman.
Right. It's only seen as a pro-NPP.
Yes, we need to discourage some of these things. But sometimes you are in the media, you should know. Daily Guide wants to sell his paper. They want to make money. They want to take commercial advantage of what has happened. So obviously, they want to look at the headlines that will make the paper sell. But it's not something that should be encouraged and be carried on. Otherwise, as you said, it creates the impression that these people are still at loggerheads on constitutional matters, on constitutional issues.
I'm grateful. Dr. Pesa, perhaps some lessons for the NDC as far as running a party's constitution is concerned.
Well, yes, but before I come to that, we don't have these kind of very strange problems in our party, as illustrated in the Congress on Sunday. And so, Senator Rollins is not a chairman of the party. She's a presidential, she's a parliamentary candidate.
Oh, your chairman broke away.
And with the greatest of respect, I decided not to interfere. I decided not to interfere when you were talking. So can I just honorably finish? I think what needs to be done in this. I think what needs to be done in this particular case is to commend Afoko for taking a reasonable road to resolving this problem, that is going to court. The reason I said so is that both the recent and not too distant and maybe previous history of the NPP and in fact some of what we have seen in more recent times indicates that that particular road is not something that they have been very used to, because we have seen how they resolve problems at the party headquarters by smashing cars of. And
you think that's how they resolve their problems?
Well, if that is not how they resolve some of their problems, why did those things happen at their party headquarters? Yeah. We have also seen how cutlasses and holes and bottles were, thrown around in the party headquarters in the heat of resolving some of their problems. So to a very large extent, I think that it was, and it still is, very commendable that Mr. Afoko decided that he will use the courts of the land to resolve whatever problems he has with the party. The verdict, I think, that is a sign of the shadow of things to come. It is reasonable to believe that Mr. Afoko will move on to appeal the ruling and perhaps go all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, all these points to the fact that our colleagues on the other side of the political divide, in this case the MPP, clearly are not in a position to put their house in order on two fronts. One, to maintain internal cohesion and unity and demonstrate to Ghanaians that they are first and foremost ready and willing to run and organize their own party well in order to attract Ghanaians and attract people who probably are non-committal. And two, that they have no time whatsoever for substantive, legitimate policy debates on what alternative they currently represent in this country. The MPP has been campaigning for the last 4 years, and up to now, as a Ghanaian, I keep asking myself, on education, what do they stand for differently from what we are doing? On health, what do they stand for differently from what we are doing? On infrastructure, what do they stand for differently from what we are doing? On women empowerment, what do they stand for differently from what we are doing? It does seem to me that the strategy has been, let's continue to obstruct this government, let's continue to demonize this government, let's continue to fabricate things, and then Ghanaians will believe those fabrications and ultimately reward the MPP. I think that our democracy is growing, and Ghanaians are becoming increasingly discerning. Ghanaians know that policy is to produce outcomes that will inure to their benefits. And in the context of political debates, we, as in the political parties, must prioritize discussions around the things that directly impact the lives of the people. And so I think that in the end, Mr. Afoko will probably go to appeal his case and probably go all the way to the Supreme Court. The point is, what are the unspoken messages from all these things when a chairman or a former chairman or a suspended chairman of the party is in serious legal battle over his right or the right and wrong in the party, and the party is heading into a major election, it clearly tells Ghanaians that, look, this is a party that is not willing to put its house in order and must first be treated as such. And as and when they put their house in order and have learned to invest more in ideas, then Ghanaians will probably give a consideration. But as it is now, I think that they are not ready for
the MPP is not ready.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Obi, a quick one, then we'll move.
Some of these things are worn out. They are worn out. We all indulge in them for our own advantage. But at the end of the day, it's the people on the ground who decide. We were in this country when First Lady, former First Lady, wife of the founder, decided to contest the sitting president. She was hounded everywhere, even after the contest, when she had to go around to thank the little or the few who followed her. She was chased and beaten. Typical example, Central Region. I'm about those places.
I don't think that is true.
I don't think she was chased and people will give her account any day, every day.
That is not true.
According to her, she was chased and
we saw pictures. People were there to report. Media people were there to report.
We didn't show any of those pictures.
We were there to report. Media people were there to report.
He just said
we all heard
it
and saw it. So, if you think that is an advantage to say that Afoko should go to Supreme Court, it's your own business. The most important thing is that the average person, the people on the street, those in the constituencies, the polling stations.
But those people want to know what alternative you have for them.
Please, don't get
4 years and you don't have a policy platform for them. And you think that is right.
If you're not careful, you may sound that you're a stranger in this country. Because every day we debate in Parliament and we show our worth. We show what we can do. So don't get the impression that in Parliament there's only one side, those who have all the sense.
What is
and those
your position on
go to
access
Parliament
to
and
education?
see how the 122 people are battling your 148 or so, and see who has a policy direction. Don't get the impression that you are a stranger in this country.
I am saying,
listen
what
to us every day.
What is your party's position on infrastructure development?
And what is your party's position on the
look at our record?
On your record of 1 billion.
That is the roads you are seeing.
Every month,
that is the hospitals you are seeing. Those are the schools you are seeing.
I wanted us to quickly deal with the TOR.
You are talking like you're a senior in this country.
We
don't have any policy.
Because you guys
we have run this country for 8 years.
Sense of
you have run this country for 27 years.
Don't get angry. Relax.
I'm not angry. I'm telling you that you are being a stranger in this country. I don't know what MPP stands for. You don't know what we
tell me what you stand for.
If you can wrap up,
just
then we'll deal with the TOR issue.
So-called social democrats, you cannot even show you one platform of social democracy.
Give me one thing that you stand for as a party.
All right, gentlemen.
Apart from this unity.
Can you wrap up so that we deal with the TOR issue briefly? I think I have just about 5 minutes to wrap up the show.
What I'm saying is that people can tickle themselves and laugh. You can go and stand on the stage and then in one breath praise Lionel Messi as the best player, and then in another breath say that the candidate of a major party is short and he wears glasses, so Ghanaians should not vote for him. As if Messi is the tallest person in the world. It shows how bankrupt people are even when it comes to a platform talk. It shows how bankrupt they are. But the most important thing is that we go to the country, we go to the people to go and convince them that this is how we think that this country should be run. This is how we think that people have come within 8 years. Our debt has risen from 9 billion to 109 billion. And if this is what they have to show for all that they've collected, we come back to TOR. We owe $250 million, 950 million Ghana cedis. And now you're telling us we don't even have it in Parliament. I'm now reading it on Bloomberg that they want to do a 10-year bond to take off the TOR debt. This is how the country and the state has been run.
Quickly, a brief on that, because we'll run out of time before I come to Dr. Akpese. The TOR debt conversion into bonds. We
are hearing for the first time. It's coming from
the finder is reporting.
It's coming from the person who holds 2 positions, MD of BOST, MD of TOR. As if we don't have persons in this country. It's coming from him. It's telling us that we owe so much when it comes to TOR. After all the levies that we collected from day one, including the special levies that have been imposed on us. When this government came in 2009, TOR debt was their mantra. They told the whole world, TOR debt has collapsed banks. Go and look now. The 19% of bad loans are coming from how state institutions have collapsed banks. VRA owing $450 million. TOR now coming in with $240 million. ECG is its own debt. This is how the country has been run. We would have to find out from the minister of. Now they don't even have. I'm sorry, they don't even have a minister for power.
There's an acting.
Yes, as usual, 1 man 1,000 is running finance, is running power. We need to find out from him what are the details of what they are telling us and how they're going to raise this. Because, as I said, the source is not even from Ghana. It's a foreign media which is quoting. They said they spoke to the MD on the phone, and they're quoting the MD as saying that they want to convert so much debt that we've incurred at TOR. For about 4 years of NEC to 2013, they didn't even know what to do with TOR. TOR was even closed down after Dr. Ampofu left.
But you know it's back now. It's
back with this huge debt. Just yesterday, GMPC was saying that if TOR wants to do business with them, they should be paying their debt. So that is the state of TOR, and it's the state of many state institutions. That's how they've run it under this government. And they want to say that they are the best thing that happened to Ghana. Not under these circumstances.
I'm grateful, Obiama.
Well, yes, thank you very much. I think that with the greatest of respect, Honorable Obiamwa seems to be suggesting that they never had a chance to run this country before. They had a chance to run this country before. TOR was in the state in which Mr. Wadakon has tried very hard to rescue it, largely because of, for lack of better word, the recklessness with which the NPP approached the top. And what we need to be minded about is that the story we are reading, Mr. Wadakon, but we are reading it from the press, and I think it is fair to probably beat some time and let him provide the full details. But the most important thing is that this hints at a solution. This hints at a resolution or a resolved commitment by this government to solve the problem. First of all, this government has completely revived TOR, had put bread and butter back on the plates of workers who otherwise would have been laid off, had brought happiness and joy to various homes whose members were probably having nightmares as to what the future holds for them. And I think that is very commendable. The government is moving steps further to make sure that the roots of the problems associated with TOR are resolved once and for all. If this cannot be commended and criticized, then I don't know what we are in for. And so I think that sometimes, yes, even in political opposition, we need to be able to say, yeah, you know what, I wish my government is in power, but I think that this particular thing that my opponents are doing are great and are commendable, and all Ghanaians need to support it. Those things are more heartwarming and more, more appropriate to do than trying to run down everything that the government is doing.
All right. Dr. Michael Pesawat, I'm grateful. He is a presidential staff and acting director of the National Service Scheme. Honorable Obiamwa is a member of parliament for Kwapim South constituency. Gentlemen, I'm grateful for your time this Tuesday. Hope to see you some other time. Now, that's it for...
I need more of sick ties from you.
Okay, this is my time today.